Paradox Pokemon are some of the most interesting Pokemon in my opinion. They share the qualities that every Pokemon needs to have, but also not. They go overboard, but also, well, not. They follow a very different design philosophy than the Ultra Beasts, who are plain alien Pokemon. But Paradox are sort of in the middle. They are in between your normal Pokemon that is meant to look like a friend, that has contrasting elements such as being cute and fierce at the same time, and your alien Pokemon that has some elements to just make it look eccentric and sort of just make you feel really uneasy, as an alien should. Paradox Pokemon are the median of that. They give you this feeling of uneasiness, but also this feeling of companionship. It's also a very interesting concept, and so I thought that I'd love to give it a go. Starting off with Paradox Lanturn. As you may know, Lanturn is actually based off of an anglerfish, who's just plain creepy to look at, so enough of that. But I decided for Lanturn's past form, it'd be pretty interesting to make it more literally based off of the anglerfish, while still resembling a Lanturn, of course. I first looked at its Pokédex entry, which generally refers to it being a deep sea star. So I wanted to take this literally and give it these star-shaped elements while sketching out an anglerfish's general proportions. The idea is that this form of Lanturn attracts other fish Pokemon with its light, and then the fishes get scared of its sharp and big teeth once they get close, so they swim over the Lanturn, and then it attacks with its star-shaped body parts, as its teeth are pretty much just an accessory. I wanted to make sure it still looked like a Lanturn, so I gave it its general body shape, and then I reversed Lanturn's eye shape so it looked angry, and gave it big teeth and spiky patterns. I wanted to give it a more bony shape like the anglerfish, so I gave it these patterns or contours of its bodies to make it look more bony while not being too literal, and polished up the line art, and then I finally colored it in. And here it is, Fierce Star. If you have better names, please let me know, by the way. But yes, it is an electric dark type and not part water. I felt like a water type would be pretty boring for it, but either way, it uses its electricity to emit light from its stars to attract enemies while also blending in with the dark oceans. It electrocutes its prey while strangling them and then eats them. I'm rather proud of this design. In my personal opinion, if this were an actual Pokemon lurking in the waters of Area Zero, I definitely wouldn't be upset, and I've always liked Lanturn, so I wanted to give it some love. Please let me know what you think of this design down below. Moving on, we got a funny one. A Paradox form of Ludicolo from the future. I looked at Ludicolo and thought, fountain. Future. Yes! This'll work. And here we are! I start off making a stiff sitting body controlling a water fountain with its psychic powers. That way there's a contrast between dancing water and a quiet Ludicolo. I also thought that it would be funny, so why not? I was trying to figure out what I wanted the water to be. At first I thought it should be a silhouette of someone dancing, and then I gave it something that looks like Ludicolo's silhouette and kept it that way, though I will change it later on. I then did its line art and gave it its features, but even after all of that, its mouth just kept on bothering me and was overall too similar to Darmanitan's Zen mode, so I scrapped its stiff looking mouth and went for a mustache looking mouth. The motif exists, and I felt like it helps its personality and looks more performer-like. So now I kept it. I made its hands look like a cup with a handle that can also be interpreted as its hands going underneath the cup, holding it. Think of a fountain holding water, or even though it's not really based off of it, you could also think of it as like a kappa holding water. I gave it water-shaped patterns, imagining water running through metal, and made its fountain hat more like a pineapple, and even more of a coconut shape in an abstract sense. And then I proceeded to stick with the mustache theme and literally making that the water shape. It even has the nose and eyes. I then polished up the line art and gave it its colors, which took a while to decide on, but here we have Festive Fountain. I actually really like its name, but I did have a tough time with its design. I really never felt like I get it to feel right, though I feel like I was able to represent the concept well enough after coloring it in. It performs water tricks on the street, but to preserve energy, it uses its psychic powers to make a water dance so it can sit after all those years of dancing, as if like it aged over who knows how many years. Once again, I really like Ludicolo, so I wanted to do whatever I can. Please let me know what you think of it. Finally, my personal favorite, a future form of Beedrill. There's quite a lot to dissect here, so let's get right into it. I started off sketching out its proportions of a soldier bee that acts as both a general and tank as its inspiration. I gave it a pose as if it were to be commanding its soldiers, and finally gave it its main stinger, making it look like a tank's cannon-like thing. Its arms, instead of injecting, like its main stinger, would shoot out poison. The reason it has so many floating parts is because it controls them with its electricity. It needs to be able to maneuver well, after all. Its gears around its neck is able to serve like the gear that allows the top of the tank to rotate, and the legs are meant to look like the tank's wheels, sort of just a bit of the shape, you know? I then spent a while getting the stingers to look right. It was like trying to find a needle in a haystack, unfortunately. successfully intended. But once I did, it all came together really nicely in my opinion. I then decided to do some further modifications and gave it the clothes of a soldier, or at least those who run the tanks, and giving it 2 dots that can be seen as screws or buttons, and connecting the gear around its head to its eyes, making it look like the headpieces they wear. I also felt like its face was a bit too empty, which is normally true for Beedrill, but I felt like I could add something to it, and so I added a segment of goggles that can go over its nose. I then finally fixed its proportions and made it look a bit more bubbly because it's Pokemon, and gave it its colors, and so finally, here we have Poison Tank. I definitely feel like I could have done better with the name, so please let me know any suggestions you may have in the comments, but design-wise, I'm very proud of it. I feel like I was able to include everything that I wanted in it without making it cluttered or messy. It is said that this Pokemon that resembles Beedrill is a modified form used as advanced weaponry for future wars, being much more fierce than its original form. And there we have it, all of my new Paradox forms. What did you think? I had a lot of fun making them, and it happened to be, I wasn't really planning on making videos where I like make Pokemon and stuff, but I sort of got a rush of excitement and inspiration when I saw True Green 7's live stream and watching it, and it made me want to go like, okay, I gotta start drawing Pokemon. And so I decided to just go for it, and here we are. Please let me know what you think of my designs, and especially the names if you have any suggestions, as I'd love to hear them. And if you liked this video, maybe like the video. And if you liked me, maybe subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!